Babes, good morning. So, this is Kendrick Johnson's mother, and she's doing an interview, and it's 42 minutes long, but you gotta listen. You gotta listen, guys. It's so beyond sad, but at the same time, it shows me so much strength within her. It really does. You just gotta listen. Here we go. I'm gonna try to get right into it. Here we go.
I have to tell the people I don't care about what nothing them people say. What the only thing.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure you get to hear all of it.
Oh,
Here we go.
how you doing, Mr. J?
All right, how about yourself?
Good, ma'am. Good. Well, I'm sorry it took us a little minute to get things together, but we
I'm sorry. I just
we
want
are
to make
now.
sure.
Well, Ms. J, you wanted to. Well, first of all, I couldn't. My audio wasn't working, so I don't know if you did. You start updating or anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, we just start off, Mr. J. 'Cause I know we're a little tardy. I mean, you said you wanted to go live when we walked out of that sheriff's office. How you feeling? I saw your TikTok. 'Cause, I don't have a TikTok account, but I'm starting to see that's a pretty powerful little
I saw it too.
app. But how you feeling?
Well, kind of like overwhelmed, feel like we're starting all back over again. But hey, it's a good feeling.
What?
It's 8 long years.
Yes, ma'am. Eight years and some months.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, Mr. J. I'm going to somewhere where it's a little more lighting. Well, it go without saying, Mrs. J. Your son's case has a lot of people who troll your son's name on the internet, literally, and the hate posts have already crunked back up. Have you seen any of that?
No, I haven't seen none of it. And Marcus, I have to tell the people I don't care about what nothing them people say. What the only thing I care about is getting justice for Kendrick Johnson. They gonna talk if you're doing good, and they gonna talk if you're doing bad. So right now, I'm feeling like all the trolls finna come back out now, cause they thought
No,
it was
that's right.
over with. It
That's
got
right.
quiet.
That's right. That's right. Got real quiet, quiet as church mice. Well, look, let's make sure we update the folks. Folks who don't know, in November, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, and myself, we took a trip to Cleveland, Ohio, which is the Northern District of Georgia. Kendrick Johnson was found dead, murdered inside of Lowndes County High School in Valdosta. Lowndes County Sheriff's Department was the initial governing body. Valdosta PD assisted as well. The GBI later got involved. Later, the FBI, and the FBI's involvement was unique because it was actually a currently employed FBI agent 8+ years ago who was the target of the federal investigation along with his two sons. So from the FBI, then we'd had the U.S. Attorney's Office. Actually, the U.S. Attorney's Office was first, and the FBI work as a tandem. Out of the Middle District of Georgia, out of Macon, under U.S. Attorney Michael Moore. Then, just laying it out real quick, Mr. J, for folks who don't know, then, unbeknownst to us, and bizarre, it was bizarre that the Northern District of Ohio back then coupled with the Middle District of Georgia. The only thing that we could logically, draw a conclusion is because one of the targets, one of the targets who was also one of the son of the FBI agent, Florida State rescinded his full scholarship that he had due to him being a target into the death of Kendrick. So the Northern District of Ohio. Then it ultimately laid the governing hands of Washington, D.C., the U.S. Department of Justice, specifically Special Agent Deborah Sines from the head of the division out of the U.S. Department of Justice. And lastly, we had intel at a meeting that was then Attorney General Loretta. In this meeting, Loretta Lynch stated that Kendrick Johnson, Valdosta, Georgia, is one of the United States Attorney General's top three domestic priorities. And July 17th, it was closed abruptly. So yesterday, it is now, it's been there for a couple of days, but we got full confirmation yesterday. It is back in the hands of the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, specifically Sheriff Polk, and he confirmed that he would also call in the GBI. Mrs. J, that's been a hell of a damn ride, Mr. J. Just explain to the folks, man, that like what this 8+ years has been like with all them different damn entities and levels of government.
These last 8 years have been hard. They've been trying time. They have literally tried to break the Johnson family, but we stand tall. We're not going nowhere. We know at the end of the day, if we don't stand up for Kendrick Johnson, nobody else will. And we're going to continue to fight for Kendrick. We don't know where this is going to lead us. We're
Right,
excited,
right.
but we know we still in a heck of a fight. So we're gonna continue to fight. We're not going nowhere. We're gonna continue to let people know it's not okay to kill somebody and no one be held accountable. Be held accountable for it. Like, Kendrick life matter to us. No matter who else life don't matter to Kendrick life. And we're gonna continue to fight for our child. Like they want to tell us all kind of different stories. We're not listening at that. We know something definitely happened in that gym, and it was just not an accident.
Yes,
It was
ma'am.
cold-blooded murder.
Mrs. J, something came up in that meeting yesterday. And listen, guys, if y'all, if you hadn't had the opportunity to meet Sheriff Ashley Polk, um, let me just say this. Valdosta, Georgia, like many outskirts of the capital of Atlanta, is very well preserved. And Sheriff Polk is one of those members of the community that is preserved in time. Um, for history, you said, Mrs. J, well, this happened not while Sheriff Polk was in office. It happened while Sheriff Prine, but Sheriff Polk was the former sheriff before this happened to your son, right? And then now he is the current. Something came up yesterday, Mr. J. Tell the people, even though I know you've said it before, for those of y'all that's been following this family, um, how did you, where was the first time that you saw images that are all over the internet now that people share? Um, how did you find those images for the first time when you saw your son in many terrible, mutilated, deceased form?
I found those images on the internet. Someone had placed Kendrick autopsy pictures and other images of Kendrick on the internet. They put it out that our family put it up there, but I would never. I had not even seen those pictures. I would never even put Kendrick on there because I want to remember Kendrick as he was when I birthed him. Like when I had him, I want to have good memories, but not all I can think about is those pictures. Every time you turn around, it's a different picture. It's it's crazy. Like those memories are stuck there. People can say, you got to remember the good times. Yeah, you got to remember the good times, but those images that
Yeah.
those people built, they intended to drive us crazy, but it didn't do nothing but drive us to push even harder for Kendrick Johnson.
That's right. That's right. And look, I want y'all folks to know, not just those terrible images, but literally, and this came up in a second, um, the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department's crime scene investigative video. I mean, literally, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and you and I were able to watch from the vantage point of the detective, and this ain't a movie, y'all, and literally watch Kendrick's body fall out of the mat. I mean, how does police evidence, such as the crime scene investigative video, be put out? But Mrs. J, I'm gonna put something out, and I want you to know it now. The second time, midst of fighting for your family, your son, I have watched you grow into from a sister who didn't have nothing to say. I mean, obviously you were grieving, nothing to say, all these cameras, all these people. Um, what's it like, Mrs. J, to go from just a family, in a small town in Georgia to your son being a household name in one of the hugest high profile cases in the nation, and I'll say second only as far as cover up to the missing children murders of Atlanta. How describe that transition, because you've been helping so many families and somebody could probably use your help right now.
It's so different because we were just like a little close family, and we were just stuck on each other. Like we never, I would never believe like now that I would be speaking out, I would have to be, helping another grieving mom. I can't even believe that I am a grieving mother. It's
Yes,
like
ma'am.
story is something that you would find on Lifetime or something. I can't believe. I it's just like Mike always say, Kenneth always say, Kendrick asked him, Daddy, if after Trayvon Martin had got killed, Kendrick asked him
Mm,
football game, and Kendrick asked him, Dad, if that was me, what would you do?
mm-hmm. Mm.
And that stood so hard because he told Kendrick that he would fight like hell, and that's just what we've been doing, fighting like hell, not knowing that it would be him, not knowing that it would be one of our children that we would have to fight for.
I can't say your son's name, especially in a setting like this, without also letting it be known. And Mrs. J, like whenever we've been rocking so long now, like I'm almost part of this family here. I mean, I'm gonna say I am part of it. Um, you know, unbeknownst to you, you guys didn't give any permission for every single organ in Kendrick's body to be removed. You didn't give that kind of a permission. You didn't even know.
No,
Uh, um, his entire tongue removed and windpipe removed. You didn't get permission for that. Um, literally, your son was flesh and bone, and in the areas, his cavities were stuffed with newspapers and magazine articles. As a mother, how did that make you feel, and how you and has it changed any right now about the missing organs of your child?
no, all Kendrick organs are still missing, and as a mother, that hurts because they gave us like a half of a child. I sent Kendrick to school, a whole able body, walking, talking, every limb working. But on January the 10th, my child didn't come home. He was at school, what should have been one of the safest places for him to ever be in. He wanted an education. He just knew he was going to be a NFL football player one day. And his life was just cut so short because of hatred, envy, and racist. I can't say it any other way because Kendrick didn't bother nobody. He wasn't in the streets. He was home. He would like go out with his friends and stuff to the movies. But Kendrick was that type of kid. He was gonna come back home, and you just we waited. We was waiting like we just knew that Kendrick all used to tell us, "Man, y'all gonna have it made. Y'all don't have to worry about nothing." Like they took out everything. We still got kids, but they took out everything. They even took my kids everything. This is something that our family would never be able to get over. Never. My kids still have a hard time.
Mrs. J, you know, I started off by telling the people we went to Cleveland in November. Um, and respectfully so, I know there's some families on here listening that are going through a similar tragedy. As the Breonna Taylors, and shout out to Sister Tamika Mallory, the George Floyds, are becoming like the fraternity that you belong to, Mrs. J. But back when you talked about Trayvon Martin, I know you and Sabrina are tight, and the names change, and as time goes, certain cases die down in the media. My point I'm making, as I saw that push, and in the summer, how you were out a lot, y'all came to Atlanta here to the Capitol, um, you know, as the uprising started in these names, I just couldn't sit here, Mrs. J, because not weighing whose family has the deepest tragedy. But I started out by naming all of those entities that y'all are fighting. And with respect to other families, there's not another case that bears all of these different entities and layers and missing bodies and, excuse me, missing body organs. And not just his organs, Mrs. J, all the clothes that your son was wearing. Have you guys ever, has that been found?
No, none of his clothes has been found.
All of his missing, all of his organs are missing, tongue and windpipe missing, everything Kendrick had on that day, and all 10 of his nails were cut down to the point of bruising when Kendrick wore his nails somewhat like his father. And if you've seen it, just slightly longer than the fingertip. But all that's still missing. So we went to Cleveland. And when we went to Cleveland, Mrs. J, it was to reopen the investigation that was closed July 16th. I want you to tell the people, Mrs. J, and you know this part of the one period where I was hot. When we had this meeting, everything was going good, guys. Remember the FBI agent's home had been raided by the FBI and his 2 children. Miss J, we just knew somebody was going to go to jail at that point, correct?
Right.
Unbeknownst to us, there was a letter that was mailed to Attorney General Loretta Lynch, signed by a coalition of retired FBI agents, folks with a lot of power. And they told this lady, and let's just keep it real, during that time we had the black presidency, black attorney general and Holder, which oversaw Kendrick's too, then Lynch. Mrs. J, would I be inaccurate? Were agents all through Valdosta for a very long time?
Yes.
What did that do to the city of Valdosta? This investigation of the murder of your son being led all the way from the desk of the top member of law, the attorney general in this land down in Valdosta. What did that do to small town Valdosta?
It had Valdosta being watched, and it had the community, they said, tore up, but it was already tore up before Kendrick got killed. Nobody would just put him on blast the way that my family has fought. Like, my family is the only family that had enough strength to stand up to Lowndes County and say, no, sir, this is not right. All the other families took their tails in and go away, but my family is still not going away. I don't care who don't like it. I don't care who don't like me. That's my son that we have to go out to that graveyard and visit.
Yes, ma'am.
Ain't nobody else suffering like my family suffering. We suffering behind Kendrick death. It's no joke. Like a lot of people, you don't see them till the cameras come around or till you hear some news. This is our everyday life. This is not nothing we get to take a vacation from. This is not nothing we get to go sit around and just kiki up. It's nothing. People don't understand. If you ain't lost a child, you can give me many condolences as you would like, but you do not understand that pain when you lose a child the way that me and some of the other mothers have lost, like by being shot and hit and run, and you won't understand.
Mr. Jane, I want the folks to stay with me because I'm leading up to how we got to that office yesterday. But you talked about the fight and how your family is stood up to the powers that be in Lowndes County. Remember, y'all, Lowndes County, Valdosta, Georgia, is the home of Mary Turner, where they take a pregnant lady and tie her to chain her to a tree and cut the baby out her stomach and stomp the baby with their racist heels of their boots, and pose and take pictures. This is Valdosta, Georgia. You guys were out every single day in front of the Justice Center. Mrs. J, about how long did that everyday stretch, and then I know it broke down in a couple of days. Can you tell the people a little something about that, those who might be a month out, a week out, and just wondering what they can do?
Yeah, I stayed on that corner for at least almost 4 years.
4 years.
Non-stop.
Wait a minute, Miss J. I'm just gonna say that 4 years, y'all. I'm sorry, Miss J. Go ahead.
4 years, because this fight that I'm fighting for, and I'm fighting everybody, ain't no need to being scared. It is what it is when it comes to Kendrick Johnson. Like I always tell him, y'all mess around and y'all killed the wrong child. Cause his parents, no matter what we go through, we gonna continue to fight for Kendrick Johnson. Yeah, yeah, they done sent so much stuff to try to tear us apart, but none of that ain't gonna stop us from fighting for Kendrick Johnson. He could be on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. We gonna still ride for our child. That's one thing they got mixed up. See, a lot of parents they collide with each other. I don't care how much we collide. We gonna continue to fight for Kendrick Johnson. Yeah, you can
And, and,
yeah, any kind of way you want, any kind of, but don't nothing matter no more than getting justice for Kendrick Johnson. That's gonna always be our fight. That's gonna always be our attention.
within them 4 years, there was a hashtag or a group that turned into a hashtag, and not for negative reasons. The KJ7. Can you tell the folks about the KJ7? I'm trying to walk us back to where we came, take us back to where we came from, so the people will understand where we're going. Who were the KJ7? What's that about?
The KJ7 is myself, my husband, and three of my sisters and one of his sisters. We all went to jail for standing up, fighting for Kendrick Johnson. That is what officially got Kendrick on the map when we went to jail.
Tell them what you went to jail for, what y'all were doing.
We did a civil disobedience in the courthouse,
Mm-hmm. They
and they
stood. Go, I'm sorry, Mr. J. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you can go ahead, Marcus.
They stood locked arms. I'll post some pictures of it later on, and refused to let anybody into one of the entrances because there were two entrances. So instead of letting this family, because at that time it had just happened, you all hadn't even gotten the autopsy report. You don't know what the hell is going on, right?
Right.
So you do this protest basically to demand the damn autopsy. But instead of just allowing this family, like they do in many of you in my cities, all right, I understand they're grieving, especially the way it happened, found dead, rolled up in a mat. Let's let them have that and let's direct traffic coming and going. No, y'all, they literally rip this family apart, arrest them, and then you all were charged. What were you charged with, Mr. J?
It's been so long.
They were contemplating a felony, but
Mm-hmm.
they gave you guys a misdemeanor, but they put you on probation, correct?
Yeah.
Put this family on probation. And then, Mrs. J, moving forward, uh, it's no secret that you guys are in debt over $250,000 to the former defendants listed in your civil suit, your former civil suit. How much money do you all owe these folks for their attorney fees?
Almost $300,000.
Wait a minute, Mrs. J. Now you know I know this. I just want to make sure people understand. Their dead child, as she sent to school, returns in a body bag. Accelerated decomposition, because we discussed that when you were out of there too, Mrs. J. The fact that Kendrick's body was not stored in a adequate cool temperature, it was heated to accelerate his decomposition, thus giving him that horrible image that circulates across the internet. Not only does she deal with that, not only does he not have any organs, not only does he not have his tongue and windpipe, not only are the clothes missing, not only are hours of surveillance footage from the school missing, blacked out, this family gets sued and now owes $300,000. That's got, man, what's your feelings on that, Mrs. J?
They can't get what we ain't got, but we still we,
It ain't funny. You just know we tight. It ain't funny, y'all. Don't mistake my laughing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
they can't get what we ain't got, but it makes me feel like they wanted us to pay them for murdering my child.
Ain't that some shit?
Hmm.
Ain't that some shit? $300,000. Now, keep it a gangster. A lot of that money has to do with a long overdue, much needed, and applauded decision based on legal counsel. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. You guys are open to building a legal team, which is what we're currently doing right now. Um, So we go. So we go to Cleveland. We meet with U.S. Attorney Herdman, who was appointed by Donald Trump. Every um, president appoints the U.S. attorneys. Herdman, with speeding this part up, basically told us he doesn't have long, but he's going to make sure this is a priority. Me and Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, and myself, we don't seen so much. We've seen so much dealing with their case, and she's already told you they go around helping other families. So we know what it's like to get jerked around, to get BS'd, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was something about that meeting, Mrs. J, and we felt something about it. Well, long story short, we didn't ask them to send this case back to Georgia. We were asking to reopen the federal investigation. They looked at the files that they had, with both of them stating that they were not there previously. That led to them filing papers in Valdosta Federal Court. And Mrs. J, when I heard that, I thought we had a little something in, but we didn't want to cheer. Now, Mrs. J, I'm gonna pass this to you. Meeting with Sheriff Polk, he specifically stated that this case was open, and he wondered how did those boxes, those files, get to his office. He stated that your son, Sheriff Polk, was part of the reason why he ran again, because he wanted to see justice no matter which way it fell. Mrs. J, Ohio sent 17 boxes. How old was your son when he lost his life?
17 years old.
Kendrick Johnson, who was murdered at 17 years old, 8 years and 2 months ago. Case went all the way to D.C. and back. Closed July. His life, there is a box, a file labeled Kendrick Johnson that has reopened this investigation. I don't know about y'all, I'm a numbers person. What do you think about 17 boxes for the 17 years of your son, Mrs. J?
So I'm going to be in one of them 17 boxes.
You damn right. So I'm probably in all 17.
One thing that stand out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mrs. J, I'll tell you what, man, I done gotten so close with, that's how we rock and roll. One thing I love about this family, y'all, and no disrespect to other families, everybody's different. But so many times families are coached by counsel. And that's understood if you're in the media and high profile. But when families are coached to say that they forgive, or to say that they don't wish this on their worst enemy, or to say that they're sorry for the killer of their loved one. Now, to each your own. But Mr. J, you said y'all would never take that stance. Is that correct?
Never. I never forgive the people that took my child's life. Never.
Why do you think? Why do you think some? Because you've been around more. Why do you think that happens? Other than sometimes the coaching to try to make it look better for the attorney in the case. But why do you think that some families do that?
I don't know if it's just maybe some families really feel that way, but I know I'm not part of that clique that's gonna ever feel that way. Cause you took something you didn't even have to be bothered with. Y'all was at school. Y'all should have been getting your education. You should have been somewhere learning how to love on each other, if anything, not how to kill somebody and then call your parents to try to help get away with the murder. Nobody wants to be held accountable, but somebody going to prison for killing Kendrick Johnson.
Well, excuse me, Mr. J. Sheriff Polk yesterday said take him at a man of his word. He said that he wrote several chapters in their ethics policy. He encouraged me to check it out. He said that in his first 2 years back, he solved a 17-year-old murder. He helped Mr. Johnson draft a letter prior to us going to Cleveland. And as I'm telling you all this stuff in a good vein of Polk, we're not going to hold our breath. But the one thing that you got, Mrs. J, is it's so obvious that your son was killed. Before we go, Mrs. J, when they closed that investigation, that's when I was hot because they said they didn't want me in there. And also, your own attorney wasn't present when you guys met with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Georgia, the U.S.
Right.
Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Ohio, the head of the Homicide Division out of the U.S. Department of Justice, all of these heads of government of these yet to be United States, and I'm going to say this, I don't mean to disrespect, just you and Mr. Johnson. Can you share with the people a couple of the things that was said, like the shoe, like the autopsy, what was said to you guys in the closing of the investigation?
They said they know the shoe was placed there.
We'll take that slow. For the people, they know the shoe was placed there. What shoe for the people who might not just know the details, Mr. J?
The Adidas tennis shoe that was supposed to allegedly be under the bottom of Kendrick's head that had nail piece of blood on it, no vomit, and Kendrick was upside down, so it should have been some blood or some vomit on one of those tennis shoes. So, but it was just a clean tennis shoe sitting under the bottom of Kendrick's head, and they said no, it was placed there.
Let me elaborate on that, Mrs. J. For those of you that haven't seen, it's got to be graphic, Mrs. J. Kendrick bled out through various areas after being upside down and plus being beaten. Kendrick had thick dreadlocks, right, Mrs. J?
Yes.
Up under Kendrick's body, as he is down in the mat, there is an Adidas shoe, which she was speaking about. That Adidas shoe oddly sits right on top of a puddle of Kendrick's blood. This Adidas shoe is up under Kendrick's head. There's not one drop of blood on that tennis shoe on the top of it, Mrs. J. So that's what Mrs. J is discussing here. So that's the shoe was placed there. I'm just walking folks through as you list some of the things that were crazy that was said to you.
And they also said that our pathologist got it right. He was correct about what he said. Kendrick with blunt force trauma.
And I believe specifically, we know the second autopsy is the most accurate, right? So they know the shoe was placed there, guys. This is the meeting where they're closing the investigation. And then they're telling them, because you've had an additional autopsy since then, Mrs. J, meaning 3 now. Both 2 and 3 contradict the first one. But these folks tell Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, with no me there and no counsel there, that we know that the positional asphyxiation is probably the most accurate. If they know the shoe was placed there and it ain't got no damn blood on it, and they know the second autopsy is the most accurate, the logical question would be what, Mrs. J?
Why ain't nobody arrested? That's my question.
Why do you close it?
Right.
Why do you close it? They investigated Jared, the former spokesperson from Subway, the soon-to-be discovered pedophile. They investigated him for a little over 5 years. Kendrick didn't make 4. So those are just really 2 highlights, you guys. And when this case was closed, it was closed under very, questionable, to say the least, circumstances. Mrs. J, now we back in the sheriff. When we were out there in the federal realm, we could only get a charge that would relate in a violation of Kendrick's civil rights. Now that we back here in the sheriff department, Mrs. J, all types of things like murder apply, where they didn't apply there in the federal.
Right.
So, Mr. J, I guess just in closing again, how do you feel about it? And we gonna keep doing everything we got to do, and we asking all of y'all to contact the sheriff's department of Lowndes County and just express to them your support and love for this family. But in closing, Mrs. J, 8 years and a couple of months your son's been gone. July 2016 investigation closed. It looked like there was the only hope was just keeping his memory alive. Now you've gotten the investigation reopened. How you feeling, and what would you like to tell the people moving forward before we get out of here?
I would like to tell families, don't give up. No matter how far they try to push you in the ground, do not give up. When you know your child has not done anything and you know your child was murdered, stand. Stand up for your child. Stand on your word. Stand on your belief, no matter how they try to make you not believe in yourself. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. This has not been an easy journey, and it's still not easy. But I do declare, and I'm going to keep saying, we're going to continue to fight for Kendrick Johnson. Even if you feel like you by yourself, stand up. I done been by myself on that corner a lot of days, and I wasn't scared. I didn't care who rolled by and shot a bird. And sometimes I probably would shoot one bite, but nevertheless, I still stood, and I'm going to continue to stand holding my child sign, Kendrick Johnson Matter.
Considering KJ, you've been out here now 8 years on behalf of your son and others. Have you seen a change in where we're headed as a people? Because again, you fight on behalf of a lot of families. Uh, are you seeing young folks or other folks get more engaged? Or kind of, what do you think about what's being called the political revolution and the revolution in general? Do you see that?
I see a lot of young folks getting active, but not in my city. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of them come about in Atlanta, but I'm gonna say not in my city. I don't know what they do. It's like everybody got their tail tucked under in my city, but I'm gonna still stand up for your child and your child and your child because I don't never want another family to go through what we go through. I don't went through about Kendrick Johnson because this is something that would take the average person out. Me and my husband, we ain't average.
No,
We
no.
tough to endure in our mind and our heart and our soul the stuff that we have endured about Kendrick Johnson. People slap you in the face, stand right in your face, and act like they with you and they for you, and they be the main ones stabbing you in your back and down to your own family stab you in your back. But you can't. You have to put all that aside, and you have to keep on staying focused. And being staying focused is not easy, but you have to
Mhm.
stay rooted and keep pushing for your child because if you don't, this is what they want. They want to destroy you. They want to tear you down, and they want to make them be the victim, and you be the murderer, or you be the aggressor.
Mr. J, we're going to get out of here, y'all. I just want to applaud you, but I want to go back real quick, Mr. J, just for some folks that might not know. I'm going all the way back to when he was found. Mrs. J, shortly after his body was found in the gymnasium, what happened to that gymnasium and in what amount of time did it happen? What did they do to that gymnasium?
I want to say within a year or within 6 months, they closed the gym in. They remodeled the gym. They closed it in definitely in the areas where Kendrick Johnson body was found. And it was an old gym. They had just not 2 years ago or a year ago built $1 million gym. There was no reason for you to even remodel the old gym. It made no sense, but it made sense when it's part of the cover up. You trying to cover up any evidence in the corners of the area or the parts of the gym where Kendrick was, but Kendrick blood is still in that gym. No matter how much you put bricks on top of it, no matter how
Hmm.
you tried to seal it in, Kendrick blood still in there in Lyles High School.
There was a tour, if memory serves me correctly, of the who's who's and investors and big wigs in that area for that renovation that took place very shortly after Kendrick's body was found. We also know that the crime scene itself wasn't preserved as far as booties not being worn for people coming and going. Um, Mr. J, man, I'm just so glad we where we at, and we ain't cheering, but this is a great position to be in. Uh, so we're just gonna see who's all with us. But like you just said, whether you standing by yourself, and that's just because I wouldn't be involved out at the time, or Mike on the road, uh, man, we're gonna keep making this thing do what it do. And just for clarity, because I know it's a lot of naysayers out there, uh, Sheriff Polk looked this family in the eyes, and I made sure I reiterated for clarity at least 2 or 3 times that this case has been reopened. So that
Woohoo!
is the stamp. I
Yay!
don't care who posts what from, because someone's posting a screenshot of the Lowndes County attorney or something and saying that the case has not been reopened. Listen, I guess everything ain't for everybody until they need it to be. Uh,
Right.
with that said, Mrs. J, man, it's been an honor. We met when I was representing another organization, and
Mm-hmm.
it meant the world to me with a big name attached to that organization. It meant the world to me that you guys would still let me operate in this capacity when I decided to branch out up under my own umbrella, so to speak. So that will always be near and dear to my heart. And I mean, hell, I done got a couple of death threats and a name for myself down there in Valdosta. So I am family anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Mrs. J, we're gonna give them about 90 days before we check back in. Letting you guys know that. Um, Anything else in closing, Mr. J? Mrs. J, excuse me. I just applaud you. I think you're the ultimate. You're the epitome of what it's like to take your pain and turn it into passion. You were quiet as could be and very pitiful. When I first met you, rightfully so. But sitting on that stage and other places, now you're a voice to be reckoned with. And again, I'm just honored to be able to help your family and justice for KJ. You close us out, Mrs. J.
I just want to say we thank you so much for all the push that you have gave for our son. You loved him like he was your own son,
Oh yeah.
and without you, a lot of stuff wouldn't have happened. And we really appreciate you. But I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
say to all the people out there, continue to push, continue to pray for us, continue to stand for us.
Listen,
Beautiful.
simple as that. Hey, the Kendrick Johnson investigation into his death, into his murder, has been reopened. If you got any details, holler at Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Polk. If you know anything, they were begging for information, according to them yesterday. And remember, this sheriff said one of the reasons he re-ran for office was because he hated the way that this case was handled. So let's help him out with all the information we can feed him. Mrs. J, have a good night, and we'll be talking soon. Justice for your
All right.
son, Kendrick Johnson. Good night.
Okay, guys, so now you understand why I say she's such a warrior. She is America has stripped them down to absolutely nothing. They tried to take every single thing they had, and she's still fighting. She's still standing. She's a beautiful woman, and I will always love her. I will always just want to hug her and embrace her and her family. Kendrick Johnson didn't deserve this, and neither did they. And then on top of that, they they locked them up. They sue them. They come on. Are you kidding me? Praise God, the case is reopened. I think it's only locally, but it's a start. You know what I'm saying? I hope you found this informative. Again, Miss Johnson, we love you so much. Whew.